Hello, I'm Kim Amy, Deputy Director at Carnegie Science Center. Global pandemic, racial injustice, climate change. These are the challenges of our time. But for the next hour, we're going to step away together, pause, reflect, and celebrate some inspirational individuals who are champions of science and innovators. People who themselves were inspired by their parents and grandparents, by their teachers, by their mentors, by camp instructors, by a field trip or a visit to the planetarium. Thanks to many of you, Carnegie Science Center has the resources to prepare our children for a future full of both challenges and opportunities. From the state-of-the-art PPG Science Pavilion and FedEx STEM Learning Labs to our unique and comprehensive STEM education programs for both students and teachers, we have the ability, the talent, and the versatility to inspire students on-site, online, and in schools.
I attended Mentors in the Making when I was in 9th grade, so as a freshman. You get someone in the STEM profession, and they're your mentor, and then you guys learn how to work all the Fab Lab machinery together, and you can get input from a software engineer and a mechanical engineer on how to make the thing that you're trying to make, and it's a really encouraging environment. The relationships that you build there, that I've built personally, are like long lasting. My mentor taught me that engineering is more than I expected work-wise, and like just because something isn't what you think it is doesn't mean you won't enjoy it.
After attending Toward Your Future programs, I have realized that I have a passion for medicine. A moment when I got really excited about science on a Toward Your Future was when I visited Allegheny General Hospital. I had the opportunity to see an open heart surgery. It was amazing to think that science and medicine had come so far that a patient could be cut open with their heart exposed and still be sewn back together and still lead a healthy life.
Right from a young age, I wanted to be a doctor, and I used to watch these documentaries where some of them were like proper life-saving surgeries, and I saw that and I was really inspired by that. I grew up in India, and we didn't have access to a science center. We didn't have even a good library. So my science teacher, I would say, was a big source because she was always excited in science, and that kind of motivated me. So teachers and mentors, I think they're really important. And I think science itself is amazing. So anything you do here to inspire the next generation, I think it's important. So I think the Science Center is it's an important source.
Our most urgent goal is to fill the gap caused by school closures and online learning. Engaging this region's students in quality STEM education programs is now more important than ever. With your support, we can continue to meet this moment and delight, educate, and inspire the next generation of STEM leaders.
Good evening. I'm Jason Brown, Henry Buell Jr. Director of Carnegie Science Center. And let me first start by saying that as proponents of science evidence and not science opinion, we practice social distancing here at the Science Center, and we wear masks at all times over both our mouths and our nose. However, given the fact that there is no one within about 30 feet of me right now and my glasses keep fogging up, we've opted for going maskless for this evening. But please know that safety is our first priority. Whew. Okay. So you might not know it, but this Tesla coil was created locally in 1911 by a Pittsburgh teenager named George Kaufman, who constructed it in the attic of his family's home in Benavon, just a few miles down the Ohio River from the Science Center. It took him a full year of tinkering, $125 of his own money, and frankly, wreaking havoc on the neighbor's power grid every time he tested it, consuming 1 million volts of ungrounded electricity every time it was fired. But George persevered through these challenges, letting his curiosity, determination, and innovative spirit lead the way. And to be honest, as I know personally, sometimes to do science right, you need to wreak a little havoc. That is something that I can personally attest to. This story is just one of many that display the long history of scientific innovation in Pittsburgh. For the past 24 years, the Carnegie Science Awards have recognized more than 600 of the most outstanding and inspiring minds in our region's science and technology industries. At this moment, there are few roles more important than problem solvers, creative thinkers, and trailblazers who make it their job to make our community and the world a better place. Nowhere are these types of innovators better represented than in our latest class of Carnegie Science Award winners. You will hear all about their stories shortly. Each of these 19 awards are going to people who are doing truly remarkable and inspiring work that make us proud to say we're from Pittsburgh. At the Science Center, we believe that STEM is far more than just science, technology, engineering, and math. It's an approach to learning that encourages students to let their curiosity drive them to define problems, use creativity to form hypotheses, work in a team, think critically, and see failure as a constructive and crucial part of finding innovative solutions. As the largest informal science educator in the region, we've always championed STEM education and delivered quality programs that delight, educate, and inspire over 90,000 students each year. 2020 has been a year rife with tremendous uncertainty, and as an institution that serves the public, our team has been transforming our programs to meet that moment. We've utilized the space provided by the PPG Science Pavilion, FedEx STEM Learning Labs, and Pointview Hall to run safe, socially distanced programs, camps, and classes. We also now offer virtual versions of our field trips, maker workshops, school assemblies, and teacher professional development opportunities, all to continue providing educating and fun science programs for the next generation of STEM leaders, even if they can't get here. Tonight, as we celebrate the top innovators in the region, we're also going to talk more about the top-notch STEM education programming the Science Center is using to meet this moment head-on. As you're watching, I hope you'll consider donating to help support these programs that reach thousands of kids each year. In the controls at the bottom of your window, you simply click the button marked Chat, and there you'll find the donation link. Thank you for that. Speaking of supporters, the Carnegie Science Awards would not be possible without the generous support of our many sponsors, including our presenting sponsor, Eaton. I'm now happy to introduce Rupert Russinello, Eaton's Senior Vice President of Marketing for Intelligent Power Management Systems, a longstanding board member of Carnegie Science Center and chairman of the Carnegie Science Awards. Rupert is a huge proponent of science and technology training and careers, and we're delighted to have his support in so many ways. Rupert?
Thank you for the kind introduction, and I'd like to add my congratulations to the 2020 Carnegie Science Award winners. This is the 7th awards that I've had the honor of hosting, and I think I can honestly say that this is the most unique that we've had in our entire experience. As we announced the 2020 award winners in March, we look forward to the second year in the relatively new PPG Pavilion. So last year we had the awards in our house, and we were looking at laying out the future history in the location. Clearly with COVID-19 that changed, our plans changed, as they did for all of us. At Eaton, we've also changed. For our team, the shift began immediately with strengthening our already rigorous safety practices to ensure the health and well-being of our employees and the communities that we serve. As you saw in the video, Eaton products and electrical equipment are the backbone of safe and reliable electrical power. And from the outset of the pandemic, Eaton's products and services were deemed essential because of the critical nature of electrical power for industries in the United States and around the world. Here in Western Pennsylvania, our manufacturing and development facilities continue to operate as we provided products and support to hospitals and first responders, utility companies and public works, as well as data centers and other critical infrastructure that support so many on the front lines and enable the overall response effort. Without Eaton's power management support and supplies, including those coming from our factory in Beaver, our field service operating center in Warrendale, and our research and development labs at our Moon Township location, many businesses and industries might not have been able to meet the needs of so many during the greatest crises in modern history. All of us at Eaton will continue to stay focused on meeting the needs of our stakeholders as we begin to define what our new normal will be, as I'm sure we all will. So while it's healthy to reflect on the last number of months, the awards also gives us the opportunity to look forward to what some have called the new normal. Not sure what that looks like. I'm not sure what it even means, but I'm confident in some of the things we've learned in the process. Early on, we're a little bit of a wait and see mode, holding our breath, hoping that things would snap back. Well, that hasn't happened. Now I think we start to realize that we have the opportunity to form something new. What have we learned? There are some things that we can only do together with a high degree of collaboration, but there are also other things that we can do where we don't have to be together with technologies like WebEx and Zoom and Team. Is this the beginning of what the new normal looks like? Personally, I think this is part of it, some key technologies, but there's a lot for us to define to fill out the complete picture as we move forward. What I do know is that the Carnegie Science Award winners have the talent, perspective, drive, and vision to help us define that new normal. As a matter of fact, all of us have a part to play in how we collaborate and innovate, how we teach, how we learn. Ball's in our court to make that happen. And the evolution that I'm proposing that we lead isn't just related to STEM. It's related to other indirect STEM activities, as a matter of fact, redefining kind of the way that we act, throughout our entire life. So whether you're an award winner or proud supporter, whether you're doing engineering and design work, or electrician, plumber, carpenter helping to build our infrastructure, you have an opportunity to help define our new normal and make the world a better place than it's ever been. So I'm looking forward to working with you and celebrating your successes and progress at the 2021 awards and far beyond. So I'd like to thank you, and once again, I'd like to celebrate the 2020 Carnegie Award winners. Thank you.
Well, as if he doesn't do enough already, Rupert also co-chairs the host committee of the Science Awards alongside Chip Doherty, another dedicated member of our advisory board. The success of tonight's event would not be possible without the amazing support of this group of people. Their names are on the screen now, and I want to personally thank them for their philanthropy, commitment to our mission, and for helping to build awareness about and raise funds to support this event. So obviously tonight's event is virtual. However, there are still opportunities for those watching at home to interact and to ask questions. Robert Fournier, our Assistant Director of Development, will explain more. Robert?
Hello, everyone. We're so happy to have you with us this evening. Later in the program, you will have the opportunity to engage directly with tonight's student awardees using Zoom's question submission feature. At the bottom of your screen, you will see a Q&A button and a chat button. If you have a question that you would like to submit to these impressive young people, please be sure to select the Q&A button. Your questions will be collected over the next 20 minutes, and only the questions submitted via the Q&A button will be counted. So remember, click Q&A to submit your question so that you can learn more about these remarkable students.
Thanks very much. Now, without further ado, let's meet our first three awardees who, if you were paying attention, were at the top of your screen a moment ago. All of these are students whose projects in the 2020 Pittsburgh Regional Science and Engineering Fair wowed judges with their impressive research and presentation skills. The Junior Division Student Award, presented by Covestro, goes to Maya Gelman of Community Day School. For her science fair project, Maya investigated ways to minimize heat buildup in bicycle brakes.
I wanted to find a way to be able to minimize brake overheating on bikes. All around the world, there are all sorts of bikers. They're going on long bike rides. All the pressure that they're putting on their brakes makes the brake pads heat up. And so I wanted to find a way that people could brake without having to put that amount of pressure on it to the point where their brakes will overheat. I found that pulse braking for 4 seconds on and off created the least heat. And I think that was because you can give it just enough time to cool off. And then constant braking was, of course, the one which created the most heat. And pulse braking 1 second on and off was right around the middle.
Now we're about to go to the next one, but before I do, I just want to say that we have raised our first $5,000 thanks to Diane, who put us over the top. Thank you very much for that. Also, I would be a terrible son if I didn't call out my mom, who also gave some of that $5,000. Thanks, Mom. All right, so moving on. The Intermediate Division Student Award, presented by Nova Chemicals, goes to Arya Hickenboth. Her research on beehive insulation methods could lead to higher survival rates of overwintering honeybees in northern climates.
I wanted to see if different types of insulation worked on honeybee hives to help keep them warmer during the winter. Insulating the hives, I thought, would probably help keep them warm, and it would help them develop properly, and it would help reduce CCD rates, which is colony collapse disorder, which is basically when the majority of the worker bees leave the hive. That affects humans because approximately 1/3 of food is pollination dependent. I found that insulation didn't really have an overall effect on the temperature of the honeybee hives, probably because the bees work to keep the temperature of the hive the same all year. They shiver and flutter their wings, and they produce heat when they do that. And when they all do that, it heats the hive, and I think it gets up to 95 degrees in the winter. I just love animals. I've always loved animals. My goal is to become a bee expert by college, and I want to continue doing projects on bees all throughout high school.
The Senior Division Student Award, presented by Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield, goes to Emily Zhang from Pittsburgh Alderdice High School. Her project was an investigation into ways to block exosome secretion in cancer cells.
My project was on exosome secretion in cancer cells. So exosomes are basically microscopic vesicles that are secreted from all kinds of cells, including cancer cells. And exosomes are actually important because they carry cancer-causing information throughout the body and to different organs, and this can actually cause cancer metastasis or resistance to cancer therapies. It was important to find a way to block exosome secretion in cancer cells, and I found that 2 kinds of drugs, metformin and rapamycin, may have potential for blocking exosome secretion in cancer cells. After I did this experiment, I gained a lot more of an understanding on cells and how bodily functions work. There's always new things that you can discover about the human body or biology in general, so I think that's really cool.
Congratulations to all of those amazing students. Don't forget to submit questions you have for them through the Q&A function in the Zoom at the bottom of the screen, and they will answer them during the Q&A session a little bit later on. And now for something completely different and probably loud, I'm going to pass things off to Amanda Iwanek from our visitor engagement team for a quick demo like those you might bump into when you're here for a visit at the Science Center. Amanda?
Thanks, Jason. Thanks for being here this evening. Today we're going to explore the gas that's in this balloon. Now, by first glance, you can guess it could be either helium or hydrogen because this balloon is lighter than air. Let's find out. Three, 2, 1. So we got a huge fireball in the sky. So we definitely know that that was not helium because hydrogen is flammable. When we combined the heat from our blowtorch, the oxygen from the air, and that fuel, we had combustion. Let's explore that hydrogen a little closer. We're going to fill my pot here with some hydrogen-filled bubbles. And by creating that combustion, that fire triangle, with heat, oxygen, and fuel, we have a reaction. Now don't worry, my hand was completely safe because thanks to my big bucket of water, it added a nice layer of protection from my hand, keeping it nice and safe. And I know all of you at home definitely want to see that again, and I need to use up all my fuel source. So, one more time, in 3, 2, 1. Thanks again for joining us. Have a great evening. Back to you, Jason.
That's awesome. Thank you, Amanda. For those of you that know me, like my mom and my dad, or my friends Jim Forbes and Bill Poole, who are watching from other parts of the country, you know that blowing things up, whether it was mayonnaise jars filled with chemicals in high school, or empty butane canisters from our nail guns as adults, yes, I said adults, was my gateway into a love for science. The pathways to science inspiration are many, and providing them to our visitors, whatever they are, is what we do. Now, back to our awardees. The Advanced Manufacturing and Materials Award presented by Kennametal goes to Dr. Carmel Majidi from Carnegie Mellon University. His leadership has shaped scientific research in the areas of software electronics, robotics, and human-machine interaction.
I lead the Soft Machines Lab, and we're a research group at Carnegie Mellon that develops next-generation materials that enable electronics, machines, and robots to be soft, elastic, and safe for physical interaction with humans. A lot of the different application areas include wearable computing, real-time physiological health monitoring. We've also looked at developing these materials as electronic skins for robots to endow basically the sense of touch and various other types of modalities of sensing so that those robots can work much more effectively. Soft materials engineering, soft matter engineering does represent, in a way, a revolution. It has the potential for transformative impact in healthcare and robotics, industrial automation. Now we're focusing more on applications and kind of real-world use cases where these stretchable electronics can actually make a difference. It's really nice to see when I go to conferences, when I go give talks, just to see the outpouring of interest for these types of approaches to electronics and machines and robotic hardware.
The Entrepreneur Award, presented by Brascom, goes to Tandem Life, whose LifeSpark product was designed to ensure more patients can be supported with a single system that is simple enough for new practitioners and powerful enough for expert-level hospital centers.
We knew that what we did was best in class. Stop the heart, handle the blood, and let it repair. The hard part was in making it broadly applicable, so people will use it and then create a mechanism that you can record the data of how they use it and learn, can you effectively save lives? Our people were phenomenal. They believed, and despite the ups and downs of the whole 20-year development, they stayed with us and they stayed developing because they believed. And when you take a modest profit and you now take effectively a 6 or 7 year period of research and development and clinical testing to get to the point that you really have something exciting, we were putting a lot more money into R&D than we were bringing in margin. And we just kept our heads down and kept at it, and we all believed, and it was really due to a phenomenal employee base that we have something that I think is a phenomenal value to society today.
Bossa Nova robotics technology has been assisting global retailers by providing real-time, on-shelf product data, earning them the Startup Entrepreneur Award presented by Pittsburgh Technology Council.
We automate the data capture and analysis of on-shelf inventory. We serve as the eyes of a retailer on the shelf. We give them ground truth about the state of their store. For us to be able to deliver that, we had to build an entire concept of an autonomous robot with the right camera architecture that we had to build custom. It was a massive undertaking. It is core, but it is still a means to an end. The thirst for data in the retail industry is gigantic. You think about, you can use the data in the way you offload products from the truck, in the way you walk the store to fulfill an online order, in the way you prepare orders for curbside pickup, and also in the way you present promotional material for the shoppers walking down the aisle. We believe data will be the cornerstone of this retail reinvention to serve the omni-channel shopper, and we would like to be the engine behind it.
Robots of a completely different kind have transformed the construction industry through the development and commercialization of autonomous field construction robots. These machines have earned Stephen Muck and Jeremy Searock of Advanced Construction Robotics the Corporate Innovation Award presented by Eaton.
The main vision of advanced construction robotics is to meet the growing demand of the construction industry by solving the skilled labor shortage and increase the productivity of the construction industry through the use of robotics and artificial intelligence.
That's really what we focused on, is where in construction can we have the biggest impact incorporating the least technology and having that technology look more like a tool that construction workers are used to being around than some robot that makes them uncomfortable or uneasy. We as Bremen Construction have been an innovator. We're pretty successful in the construction industry and particularly in the bridge market. So, I think that credibility lends credibility to what we're doing with robotics, and that's grading against a workforce that's shrinking and a workforce that's becoming, in some instances and applications, less productive. So, that's the launching pad for the adoption of this new kind of technology.
Eaton, the presenting sponsor of the awards for the past 16 years, has been instrumental in helping us recognize hundreds of people for their innovative contributions to our region and beyond. They are also a key supporter of all of our STEM programs here. Our next awardee is Dr. Ryan Sullivan from Carnegie Mellon University. Dr. Sullivan's contributions to atmospheric science help us better understand the planet's climate, earning him the Environmental Award presented by Alcosan.
We've developed a technique where we're literally trapping a little particle in a laser beam. Aerosol particles have unique fundamental chemical properties, and in the atmosphere, they facilitate chemical reactions that cannot take place in the gas phase alone. They facilitate other processes that require particles, such as nucleation of cloud droplets and ice crystals, which are major uncertainties in our understanding of how human emissions and activities are changing climate. This unique chemistry of aerosol particles also provides new solutions, new opportunities to address some of our major sustainability challenges. The chemistry in the environment is so complex, there's so many feedbacks going on that you definitely need a chemist's skill set and intuition if you're going to make progress, but you can't do it just with chemists either. You need engineers who bring the systems levels approach. You need environmental scientists, atmospheric scientists, all of these different disciplines if you're really going to advance our understanding, and then solutions as well.
The Information Technology Award presented by the Pittsburgh Business Times goes to Behavior, a system that uses wearable technology and artificial intelligence to help wearers understand themselves better, thereby lowering opioid relapse rates.
So we have created a wearable system that predicts and prevents opioid relapse and overdose using machine learning and software. So it's a wearable platform that involves a wrist wearable like a Fitbit, and then software application that can be provided both to the end user, the person in recovery, and their support network members, and then their clinical team. Part of the idea with creating this was to create something that is individualized and that uses all these different factors from their life, where they are in their physiology, where they are with their behavior, a relapse prevention plan from a clinician, kind of putting all these things together, and then using machine learning or artificial intelligence, you can find patterns that you wouldn't be able to find otherwise. So we're trying to empower people to be able to change their behavior in a way that works for them, and to feel like they understand how their body and mind works and feel like they're in control of that more.
The Innovation in Energy Award, presented by Duquesne Light Company, goes to the Laser and Optical Processes team from the National Energy Technology Laboratory. The team produced the world's longest single crystal optical fibers, which allow energy gathering and energy generating technologies to run more efficiently.
Most of what we're doing is dedicating our time to building the next generation of sensors for power generation. Sensors that can help power plants and electrical infrastructure sort of work better, make electricity more cheaply, and sort of eliminate pollutants in the process. We work in optical materials, so we find new ways of replacing existing sensors with optical devices that work at much higher temperatures under much higher pressures. So right in a combustor, in a turbine, in a boiler system where the hottest temperatures and the highest pressures exist, that's where we'd really like to be measuring things. I'd really like to see our distributed sensing systems being utilized in all kinds of different power plant situations, in both coal and natural gas power plants, but at the same time in advanced nuclear reactors. So we'd really like to see our new sensor technology going into all of these power plants to improve the whole infrastructure of energy.
In her role at Pittsburgh Public Schools, Angela Mike has initiated new career and technical education programs to prepare her students for success in today's industries, earning her the Leadership in Career and Technical Education Award presented by PPG.
Pittsburgh Public Schools Career and Technical Education Division has available for students 16 different career programs. Students are able to take those programs starting in 10th grade. So we always want to be prepared and make sure that we have programs available that are going to meet the needs of the workforce, and we want to help supply that pipeline to future jobs. So for now, we're looking at what will we need in the future and how can we make sure that we have that available here for Pittsburgh Public School students. A transformation can happen in a student by being in a career and technical education program. They say, I really want to be a nurse, or I want to build homes. I always try to go back to that and say, well, if that's your passion and that's your pathway that you'd like to go on for your career, what do you think you need to do to be prepared for that? And most of our students, we actually see their grades go up because they make the connection as to why their academic courses connect and are relevant to their career pathways.
All right, let's check back in with our visitor engagement team for another fun science demo, this time led by Christina Soff and Colleen Koki. Take it away.
Hi, everyone. I'm Christina, and I'm with my friend Colleen, and we're going to be doing some really fun explosive demonstrations using liquid nitrogen. Now, liquid nitrogen is just nitrogen gas, the 7th element on the periodic table, but in its liquid state of matter. Now, in its liquid state of matter, it's really cold. It's actually negative 321 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit scale cold. That's why we have to wear our safety gear while handling it. Now, what's amazing about liquid nitrogen is as it begins to heat up in the room around us, it boils off, producing all of this really amazing fog. But for our explosive demonstration, we're going to help this reaction to happen really fast. I'm going to take a bucket of really hot water, putting it on top of our really cold liquid nitrogen to create an explosive liquid nitrogen fog cloud. So let me grab my bucket of water here. And we'll do a countdown backwards in 3, 2, 1. Woohoo! Thank you so much. Back to you, Jason.
Sweet. Love that. Anything that explodes is great with me. Okay, that was awesome. Thank you. So don't forget that coming up is a Q&A with the 3 amazing students you met earlier. Don't forget to submit your questions via the Q&A function in Zoom at the bottom of the screen. Also, as a reminder, donations to support our STEM education work can be made by clicking the chat button at the bottom of the screen. Thanks so much for those of you who have already contributed. And now let's get to some more awardees. The Leadership in STEM Education Award, presented by Eaton, goes to someone whose mission aligns so well with our own here, Dr. Andre Samuel. Under his leadership, the Citizen Science Lab has become a fantastic place for people to engage with life science and technology.
The Citizen Science Lab is a hands-on laboratory for the inquisitive mind and the science enthusiast. Essentially, what we are a network of laboratories that are designed specifically for teaching hands-on science to kids and adults. The first thing you'll notice is that it's a very inviting, bright, colorful place that's open to being inquisitive and wanting to learn more about science. We tried to make sure that what we're going to teach is real life applicable. And so we've had students work on projects that save the honeybees by genetically engineering bacteria that can hopefully serve as an antidote to pesticides that are killing off honeybees. So students address these real world problems. I love science. I think it's eye-opening, and I want to open everybody else's eyes to it. We get really, really positive feedback. We get it from the kids, we get it from the parents, we get it from people who just heard about our program. And it just really goes to show how much I think quality science interaction is really needed, not only here in Pittsburgh, but across the nation.
The Life Sciences Award goes to Dr. Fabrizia Ambrosio of UPMC International. Considered the founder of regenerative rehabilitation, Dr. Ambrosio's approach combines pharmacologic, genetic, and mechanical strategies.
I primarily work with stem cells and skeletal muscle regeneration. We are focusing a lot on how can we use rehab to enhance stem cell therapeutics, how can we even improve the function of stem cells that are already in our body. For example, in the context of very, very severe muscle injuries, such as would be seen for people on active duty, we are investigating scaffold materials that we can combine together with rehab to enhance tissue regeneration and ultimately function. We have seen such wonderful advances where we can actually associate a person's genotype with their ability to respond. And the same thing seems to be true with exercise. You know, some genotypes will be particularly responsive to this type of exercise. And so I think if we can understand that, this really is tapping into this precision medicine type of paradigm. The most exciting thing about being a researcher is that you're in this constant phase of discovery, right? You're learning things that people don't know.
Journalists Christina Marusik and Oliver Morrison used a multi-channel reporting approach to share vital information about harmful PFAS chemicals. Their investigative reporting about this important issue earns them the Science Communicator Award, presented by WTAE Channel 4.
I always wanted to write stories that could make the world a better place. A lot of my job is kind of being a translator. The biggest challenge is being concise while also being as accurate as possible. We started reporting on PFAS in 2018, and they are this class of more than 5,000 chemicals that are used to make pots and pans nonstick. They're used in furniture and clothing. A number of studies started coming out linking them to health problems like thyroid disease, cancer, asthma. There's no federal standard for how much PFAS can be in drinking water, for example.
The moment that I got involved in the story, the Defense Department was already spending billions of dollars on looking into this and cleanup efforts, but I had never heard about it, so I think it was that combination that hit home for me. I was like, there's this massive thing going on. I'm pretty well informed. I don't know about it. I feel like other people need to know about it. And the hope is that, there will be money set aside for this, because we know this is an issue not just here in the Pittsburgh region, but all across the country.
A graduate student at the University of Pittsburgh, Alexis Nolfi's biomedical engineering research has earned her the University Student Award, presented by Eaton.
In my lab, we really focus on a lot of regenerative medicine and tissue engineering, and specifically what I work on is looking at biomaterials and how we can use them to help with different conditions and diseases and how we can modify them and make them better. In my line of work, biomaterials can range from contact lenses that you put on the ocular surface to implantable devices like polypropylene mesh that you actually implant within the body to help to strengthen a tissue, repair, or provide a little bit more mechanical support. And we're actually trying to make it a little bit better by putting different coatings on the surface so that they help to relieve some of the foreign body reaction so that you don't have as many complications. As a graduate student, sometimes, maybe people think we just spend all of our time in the lab, but that's not completely true. So as a graduate student, I also have the opportunities to teach and participate in STEM outreach. Even in a future career, even though I will be doing a lot of research and a lot of bench work and all those stereotypical things, I also hope to have a pretty heavy component in teaching and outreach because that's what I truly love.
It's wonderful. And I want to also update you that we have reached amazing generosity from all of you with $6,600 being donated. Thank you to Hakan, who put us over the top on that one. And thank you for your continued donations to the Science Center and the work that we do. Because science and STEM are not just about thinking and understanding problems, but also about developing and prototyping solutions to them. Our BNY Mellon Fab Lab does just this as it invites makers of all ages to innovate and invent using 3D printers, laser cutters, and other digital fabrication equipment. One of our programs, called Mentors in the Making, pairs teenagers with adult STEM professionals, and together they learn to use that equipment and create a project that solves a challenge in their own community.
Mentors in the Making is a one-on-one mentoring program for underserved teens at Fab Lab Carnegie Science Center. Teens are paired with STEM professionals meeting once a week in the Fab Lab. The professionals who volunteer their time as mentors also get to explore new technologies like 3D printing, electronics, and laser cutting. The students are provided the tools to identify a problem and create a solution. They begin the program by creating 3 pre-designed projects, followed by a capstone project of their own choice. The students and the mentors develop personal relationships which benefit them both.
I think the students have gained a lot of confidence in being able to try new things, not be afraid, be able to take a little bit of a risk in learning to use a new design or a new tool.
Back during the end of middle school, I decided that I wanted to be in the medical field, and coming here was pretty much the opportunity of what they're going to do in the future in the medical field.
The Fab Lab offers unique hands-on experience working with individuals in the industry.
If they didn't have this technology that generates tangible product, there's much less incentive to actually do it if you were just sort of saying, oh, let's think about it, or let's write a text-based report. Instead, we actually have a game we play.
Mentors in the Making at Fab Lab, benefiting students, mentors, and our community.
Now, before we showcase our final 4 awardees, I'd like to take a moment to recognize this year's honorable mentions. They are being shown on the screen now, and I want to congratulate all of them as well. As a former teacher myself, and with education being a key part of our mission here at the Science Center, I'm so proud to work with teachers in our shared dedication to prepare students for success. I can't stress enough how vital their work is, especially in today's world. And even though this next group makes me feel like I could have been a lot better as a teacher, I'm honored to introduce this group of remarkable awardees who inspire us with their passion for teaching. In the Postsecondary Educator category, the Carnegie Science Award goes to Dr. Brian Brown. By organizing and launching the McGowan Institute for Regenerative Medicine Summer School, Dr. Brown has helped students gain experience and a better understanding of human health.
I teach ethics, I teach thermodynamics. At the undergraduate level, we have a number of educational activities that we do through the McGowan Institute for Regenerative Medicine. The first is the Regenerative Medicine Summer School. And so that's a program where we bring in about 20 undergraduate students every summer, put them through what we call a regenerative medicine boot camp, where they're having lectures from about 20 different faculty who are working on different aspects of regenerative medicine at the McGowan Institute. We also have them do hands-on activities in the lab each day, touring facilities and seeing things like 3D printing in the labs, giving them an idea of what's actually going on in Pittsburgh, what is the current state where we're going with regenerative medicine. When I was an undergraduate, somebody gave me an opportunity, somebody brought me in, and for me that's something that I take a lot of pleasure in, is talking to people, getting them to understand what is really going on with the field of regenerative medicine, what opportunities there are. For me, there's a lot of reward in that.
The Elementary Educator Award is presented by Orion Vega, the production company behind each of the awardee videos shown tonight. This award goes to Karen Clicker, whose unique inquiry approach allows students to learn about the world around them through experiential learning.
The way I love to teach science is bring in the math and the language arts and social studies, and a lot of my project-based learning projects do that. They are cross-curricular, which is real life. In real life, you don't have a little box that says you're using language arts or a little box that says you're now using math. You have to put it all together. Learning is about igniting a flame, not filling a bucket. Children will go beyond what you expect if they're excited and you ignite that curiosity that's in them. I see the kids' wheels turning, I see them collaborating, I see them testing and not getting discouraged when it doesn't work and going back and doing iterations. And then the kids say, okay, I think I can do this. That's one of my passions, is to bring that out and let students have a chance to be makers. I also want them to make a difference and be stakeholders, have an interest in taking care of the earth we've been given.
Zian Poerio led the development of her school's STREAM Lab and works with community leaders and tech companies to build real-world connections for her students, a necessity for understanding the true opportunities that await students in the STEM fields. This earns her the Middle Level Educator Award presented by PPG.
More than half of the students that we're teaching in our classes today will have jobs in the future that don't even exist today. So we have a pretty big challenge ahead of us. We have to provide them with opportunities that give them those skills to help them so that they can become the next innovators. Creativity, collaboration, problem solving, critical thinking, communication. So those are the skills that you need to be successful in the future. We are so lucky to be in Pittsburgh. Why not take advantage of everything that Pittsburgh has to offer? We had people from Argo at our school. We had Palm Lowers from Bird Green. We've had people from Google Pittsburgh to inspire the students and let them understand the importance of coding so that they can see, look, just right in our own community, we have all this great talent, and I want to inspire them. And it could be one of my own students that does this and is an innovator for the future.
And finally tonight, we have the High School Educator Award presented by FedEx, which goes to Tamar McPherson. Her commitment to engaging students and peers in STEM is demonstrated by her many collaborations on cross-curricular projects and integration of coding across disciplines.
My classroom is chaotic. There's all sorts of things going on. It's not just me guiding them and telling them what buttons to push and what to do. It's me handing them some shiny new object and saying, well, I really don't know how to use this either. It's my first time messing around with something like this. Just go explore and figure out what you're doing. And then tell me what you did. We get the most creativity from kids because they have some freedom. They're so used to the structure of things. And so I try to break that habit in them. It's a very difficult habit to break sometimes, but then they get used to it and it gets them interested in more things because they get hungry for it. I think it's important that we bring in the special ed students and the kids in the quote regular classes. When you hand them something that's hands-on, they really thrive with that.
Congratulations to our 2020 Carnegie Science Award winners. On behalf of everyone here at the Science Center, we thank each of you for your amazing work making Pittsburgh a better place for all of us. Tonight's honorees are key members of Pittsburgh's thriving science, technology, and education communities. I'd like to share with you some comments from other leaders in these communities who share our enthusiasm for sparking a love of science in the next generation. Having a welcoming environment and the right resources are cornerstones in the learning process, and the people you're about to see helped to make the PPG Science Pavilion a reality just 2 years ago. Since then, it has served as a hub for thousands of students to engage with science through our summer camps, STEM competitions, field trips, and more.
I love that the Science Center brings together traditional science careers and science opportunities with very cutting-edge opportunities.
I really love the Science Center because it's this portal to scientific adventure.
They're coming to us and bringing this solid programming. That is inspiring.
Carnegie Science Center really serves as the conduit for the Pittsburgh region.
Carnegie Science Center has sparked a movement within young people to be excited about learning.
The aha moments are what I live for. They get to see it, they get to feel it, they get to experience it.
Pittsburgh is such a wonderful city. It's a clean city, it's a green city, and it's also a city that is on the rise. And I think the Carnegie Science Center is the centerpiece of that.
It draws people to this region to just come and to have fun and to learn at the same time. The Science Center is always looking for what's next, what's really important now, what's going to be important in the future.
To think about moving forward and having this space where more generations can be educated in the science and technology fields, I think is so remarkable.
I'm just so excited at what the Science Center has done, and with this new PPG Science Pavilion, the future is limitless.
And now I'd like to introduce Marcus Harshaw, Senior Director of Museum Experiences, who will host our student Q&A sponsored by PPG. Take it away, Marcus.
Thanks, Jason. And thank you all for being here tonight. I have with me 3 intelligent, talented young students who have all been recognized this evening with Carnegie Science Awards. I'd like to introduce to our viewers Maya Gelman of Community Day School, Aria Hickenboth of St. John Paul II Homeschool Co-op, and Emily Jiang of Pittsburgh Allardyce High School. Thank you all for being with us this evening. I really want to start with a question for each of you of where did you get inspired for these terrific projects that each of you worked on? And we'll go ahead and start with you, Maya. Tell us where you found your inspiration.
So my parents had just recently got back from a Hawaii trip, and they were telling me all about their stories. And they told me about how they went on this very long bike ride on a volcano called Haleakala. And the bike ride was 70 miles in total, 35 miles up and 35 miles down. And on their way down, since they were on bikes, they had to brake so much from going down so steep. And it was causing the brakes to heat. And they were telling me that they had to like pause every few minutes to let their brakes cool down. And that got me thinking, you know, like what if I could create a way where people could go down hills that are long and steep and not have to stop every few minutes to have their brakes pulled out.
That sounds terrific. Maya, just a follow-up question from somebody in our audience today. Would you recommend disc brakes to reduce the heating?
So I think that it doesn't really matter what kind of brake you use because the amount of pressure is what's creating the heat buildup. And so if you're going down a long steep hill, it's going to be the same amount of pressure as long as you're constantly putting pressure on those brakes. And no brake is not going to heat up with all that pressure. But with disc brakes, they are a little bit further away from the tire rim. And that does make it a little bit safer because it makes it less likely for the tire to pop off or for there to be a blowout.
That sounds terrific. Aria, let's take it over to you. We have another question actually from the audience of what material was used to insulate the honeybees?
So on the honeybee hives, I used roof and tar paper and Owens Corning insulation.
And if the beehive gets up to 95 degrees in the winter, then kind of what's the average temperature we should expect to see in the summer?
It stays 95 degrees year round, but the bees sort of go outside and fan their wings to cool off the hive in the summer if they get too hot.
Sure. All right, so let's hear from Emily. Emily, what thing most surprised you while you were working on this project?
I would say, so when I started working on my project, I started with literature reviews. So I researched what exosome secretion was and what are some ways of blocking exosome secretion. And so I looked at a lot of diagrams, a lot of images of exosomes and cells and how exocytosis works. And so I think that the most surprising thing was probably actually being in the lab and being able to see exosomes, see the cells, and actually witness the process of exocytosis in cells. And I think that was probably one of the most surprising parts.
That sounds great. Listen, another question for you from the audience actually is these exosomes. So if you could explore them further, what would you do with your research next?
Yeah, so exosomes have only been recently discovered by scientists, and so they have so much potential in cancer treatments. And so in the future, I'd probably experiment with different types of cancer because in my research, I only used leukemia cells. And so in the future, I would like to research with different kinds of cancer cells. And I'd probably look for more molecules that could potentially block exosome secretion.
Sure. All right. This is a really cool question for Maya. What instruments did you use or how did you measure the heat in those bike pads or those brake pads?
So I used an infrared thermometer, so a non-contact thermometer, and it has like a laser beam, and you just hold it up to the disc brake, and it just shows you the temperature. That's very easy.
It's very easy. There we go. It's terrific. All right, Aria, for your research on bees, did you study one specific species? Do you know if all species react the same? Do they all self-heat with that shivering mechanism, or do you think that bees of different types would act differently?
So our bees that we have are European bees, and I studied with our hives, so I didn't test to see different kinds of bees because we do not own different kinds of bees.
Okay, this is actually a great question for everybody on the panel. So we'll start with Maya and then we'll go down to each division. Do you plan to keep working in the same content area, or have you found something else sort of along the way in your research that has piqued your interest?
So I'm definitely gonna stay in the same kind of area because I think that there's a lot more research that I could do to broaden everything and like for different scenarios, like the slope of the hill or the temperature outside and how that affects the and also like different types of breaks. So I think there's a lot more research that I could do further into the experiment.
Sure. All right, Aria, how about you? Okay, we seem to be short on Aria sound, so let's take it to Emily to answer that question. Do you plan to stay in the same content area or think of something else?
I think if anything, my experiment really piqued or furthered my interest in biology. So I would definitely stay in the field of biology because it's so broad. And like Maya was saying, there's so much more that needs to be discovered. And yeah, I think I would stay in biology.
That sounds great. Well, that's all the time we've got for everybody tonight. This has been such an inspiring conversation. You three are terrific inspirations to us all. Thank you for being here with me. All of you in the audience, thanks for being here with us this evening, and congratulations to you three on your achievements. Jason, we're going to send it back up to you.
Thanks, Marcus, and thanks to Maya, Aria, and Emily for sharing this more about your research as well as your interest in science. I'm sure that it's going to take you many places, and probably one of you will be taking my job at some point in the future. So that wraps up the 24th Annual Carnegie Science Awards celebration, but please know that next year we plan to be back live, on-site, and in person with an entirely reimagined event and format in celebration of our 25th anniversary of the Science Awards. This year presented special challenges for this event, originally scheduled for May 9th, but STEM, what we do, is about adaptation, innovation, and evolution. So we modeled that, adapting our program to be virtual, our interviews to be video conference, and our wardrobes to meet the demands of today's fashion, which is all Zoom-based. So I'm comfortable, and that's one thing I'll be sad to see go. But you can bet that no matter whatever next year looks like, we're going to adapt what we do to power through that too. So thanks to all of you for watching, helping to celebrate this amazing group of Pittsburgh innovators, and listening to me talk about the work we do here at the Science Center to inspire the next generation of science learners. We couldn't do any of this without your support. You comprise some of the Science Center's most valuable supporters, and because of this, you share in our mission to delight, educate, and inspire the tens of thousands of students we serve each year. I wouldn't be doing my job, of course, if I didn't appeal one last time for your generous support to raise critical funds for the Science Center and the STEM programs that we offer. So before you sign off tonight, please visit the donation link one more time under chat at the bottom of your screen and make your gift so that we can continue to meet the moment by inspiring the next generation of learners and leveling the educational opportunities available to the youth of Pittsburgh. Thank you for your generosity and for joining us tonight. So have a great evening, and I look forward to seeing you next year in person at the Science Awards and hopefully even sooner for a visit on the North Shore. Good night.